The people of Wayne are hardworking, industrious, and focused. Like the expansive New Jersey town's most famous resident, Preakness, Wayne's success is born and bred, charging forward with tenacity and steadfast drive. Harvest by harvest, brick by brick, Wayne's ironclad history is one that few take ample pride in part because a large sum of the monumental historical events and leaders past are not widely known by recent generations. The residents of Wayne might be surprised to know that their bounce-back fortitude mirrors the Super Bowl that was created right in the town, as was the mother of all cookies, the Oreo. The Lenni Lenape Indians, who first called Wayne home, saw in this area a wealth of opportunity and natural majesty, later fortified by early settler Arndt Schuyler, who referred to Wayne as a, quote, wondrous, beautiful valley, end quote. Rich with commerce and a proud suburban ideal for family life, Wayne continues in its tradition of industriousness to this very day. This is Wayne, New Jersey.
And on any given day, you can just kind of, feel what it must have been like, to be here on this land back when Terhune had it.
We're less than a mile away from this, living here, and we didn't know that this existed.
So we're going to start construction of that park in the fall and open it in the spring. We'll have a grand opening.
We're going to have our 50th high school reunion in October. And it's the first time the hills and valley, like it was 50 years ago when we separated, we're going to be together.
The entrance to come into the house originally was just beautiful. You'd enter through the gates and travel down a winding driveway.
We painted a lot of fire hydrants in our town, saving taxpayers money and also making it visible for the firefighters to come out to save lives and to be there for the community.
I know people who live in Wayne who still haven't been here. It is a best kept secret.
Larger businesses look at us and say, it's a great proximity in terms of to transportation.
We just feel it's important to be involved, and we're successful in the town, and we believe in sharing some of that success with the local people.
Yeah, I want to see it just keep going, and I don't want to say, oh well, this is a 10, 15-year venture and we're out. No, our plans are to be here another 100 years from now.
I started asking around. I started, making some phone calls, and lo and behold, I found one of the best things I ever found in Wayne, which was the Wayne Interfaith Network.
And I grew up there, and it was an awesome place to grow up because there was kids everywhere. I opened my door, and there was young families everywhere.
I think they come here just to get the stuff as fresh as they can. And everything we do here revolves around flavor and quality, and we do the best we can for everybody.
was her life. She had no children. And this was her life. These were her children. She said to me one day, I said, how do you remember every name and every plant? And she said, do you remember your children's names? And I was like, okay, I have two.
Our name got in the paper all the time. It was even on Channel 7 News that the Wayne Interfaith Network was, was distributing food.
Wayne's named after General Anthony Wayne, who was one of George Washington's, generals. He led the Battle of Monmouth.
Wayne's a great town. The school system's good. I wouldn't be here all these years if I didn't like it. And what I've noticed is there's quite a few people that once they do move to Wayne, they stay.
(1694), Arndt Schuyler travels into northwestern New Jersey. He is there at the behest of British leaders to investigate rumors that the French are trying to incite the native Indian population to rebel against the English.
And so Arndt Schuyler was sent here, and that's not what he found.
He does, however, find a rich and fertile valley where the local Indian population is growing a variety of crops.
He is quoted as referring to the area as a wondrous, beautiful valley.
Schuyler reports his findings to his British leaders, and shortly after, seeing potential for the area, convinces Major Anthony Brockholst, Samuel Bayard, Sam Berry, Hendrick and David Mandeville, George Ryerson, and John Meade to invest in the purchase of the land he referred to as the Pompton Valley.
So they send Schuyler back to the Pompton Valley to negotiate with the Indians for the rights to the land.
Samuel Bayard, however, was chosen to negotiate with the East Jersey Company, which maintained land rights over the area that is now Wayne. Approximately 5,000 acres were purchased. He goes on to build the Schuyler Colfax House along the Pompton River.
Completed as a one-room farmhouse in 1695 by Arndt Schuyler, the Schuyler homestead was passed to Arndt Schuyler's great-granddaughter, Hester Schuyler, who married William Colfax, commander of George Washington's lifeguards.
As you can imagine, George Washington, during the Revolutionary War, was a very wanted man. He needed the very best security around him at all times. The group that protected him was what was referred to as Washington's Life Guard. This was a group made up of about 150 patriots who had Washington's back, no matter what. This group was commanded by a man named William Colfax. William Colfax was married to Hester Schuyler. And Hester Schuyler, of course, is the granddaughter of Arndt Schuyler, the settler of Wayne.
Schuyler made large ventures in real estate in New Jersey, and as time went by, he became the richest man in the area. He continued his residence in Pompton until 1710, when he moved out of the immediate area to a large farm on the Passaic River. He was an instrumental American military leader during and after the American Revolution and Wayne, New Jersey's eventual namesake. Born on January 1st, 1745 in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, Anthony Wayne attends his uncle's private school in Philadelphia, where he trains to become a surveyor. In 1765, he is sent to Nova Scotia by Benjamin Franklin to survey and help settle 100,000 acres of company-owned land. He returns to Pennsylvania in 1766, where he works for his father's tannery business. He eventually inherits the business in 1774 when his father suddenly dies. Wayne serves in the Pennsylvania legislature in 1775 and joins the Continental Army in 1776, where he quickly advances to the rank of Brigadier General in 1777. Due to his lack of military experience before enlisting, other, more experienced officers resent Wayne's quick advancement. He quickly becomes known for his bravado and ill-advised attacks. Due to these impulsive actions on the battlefield, he earns the nickname Mad Anthony Wayne. July 15th, 1779, in perhaps his most famous military action, Wayne and his men gather at the foot of Stony Point. While they meet heavy resistance, the element of surprise and the precision of planning and execution give an edge to the American attackers. Wayne receives a severe scalp wound, stunning him, but he pushes on and leads the Americans to victory, capturing the fort and 543 British prisoners. 63 British are killed. The Americans lose 15 in the skirmish. The victory was also a huge morale booster for the Continental Army. In 1780, Wayne plays a critical role in preventing Benedict Arnold from turning over the American fortifications at West Point to British forces. Wayne also helps to quell a mutiny of Pennsylvania soldiers who had not yet received payment from the government formed by the Articles of Confederation. Following Lord Cornwallis's defeat at Yorktown, Virginia in October 1781, Wayne served in Georgia against British loyalists and their American Indian allies. Having attained the rank of Major General, Wayne retires in 1783 from the Continental Army. Wayne goes on to hold several political offices, including a seat in the Pennsylvania legislature in 1784 and 1785. He was a strong supporter of the Constitution and served as one of Georgia's members of the United States House of Representatives from 1791 to 1792, but was forced from his seat in 1792 because he had failed to take up residency in Georgia.
Wayne is the name of a town that I used to live in. Jane is the name of a girl that I knew back then. Sad is the way that I feel when I think about her. I hit the road late one night and I miss her still. Gone are the days when the nights lasted forever. We'd gas up the Chevy and drive it down to the lake. Time has a way of creeping into the future. It leaves us behind, but these memories remain. I used to live in. Jane is the name of a girl that I knew back then. Time has a way of creeping into the future.
When it comes to the best kept secrets in Wayne, New Jersey, there is no close second, and you need look no further than the Pines Lake section of the township, and a place so peaceful that close your eyes while on the grounds, and you may as well be anywhere on earth. Laurelwood Arboretum is a 31-acre botanically diverse property. The grounds include wooded trails and gardens, wildlife, 2 ponds, streams, and hundreds of varieties of rhododendron, azaleas, and other unusual species of plants and trees.
This is one of Wayne's best kept secrets, Laurelwood Arboretum. It's a beautiful place, a 30-acre tract where gravel paths wind their way through beautiful, lush garden areas that were designed in large part by Dorothy Knippenberg.
Gravel paths wind and connect through the Arboretum, making it an ideal destination for nature lovers, hikers, runners, bird watchers, artists, and photographers, even your pets.
30 acres of beautiful, beautiful open space with plants, you know, annuals, you know, bushes, wonderful trees.
Once a commercial nursery, Laurelwood Arboretum is now maintained as a public park through a partnership between the Township of Wayne and the nonprofit organization Friends of Laurelwood Arboretum.
Dorothy planted this redwood tree in her arboretum over here. You find them out in California in the redwood forest, but she put a lot of planting into it. She planted the tree near the stream, largest stream here, so it got its water, and it's grown beautifully, and something that you should really come and see.
And the Dawn Redwood, like I said, originated, it's in China, that's its native land. It grows to be between, 70, 100 feet tall. This one, however, is not that tall, but the really cool thing about it is that there's a redwood, and it's right here in Wayne, New Jersey. And here it is, right at Laurelwood Arboretum, where you can come and you can see it. You can lean up against it. Here I am right here. They always said I was a tree hugger, Shane. So I just want to make sure everybody sees me hugging the tree. Can't get my arms around it.
Laurelwood Arboretum was made possible only by a generous donation to the Township of Wayne by Dorothy and John Knippenberg. The Knippenbergs purchased the 30-acre property across from their home in Pines Lake. Known as Laurelwood Gardens, it was an active commercial nursery that specialized in rhododendrons and azaleas. The Knippenbergs were widely known and respected for developing many hybrid rhododendron and for their generosity to the local community.
The Knippenbergs had a vision to collect hybrid rhododendrons from throughout the country.
They were also known and respected within the community for their generosity and philanthropy. It was their wish that the property eventually be given to Wayne Township to be open to the public as a horticultural preserve.
Dorothy left that property to the township with the caveat that township would never develop that property. And if my memory serves me correctly, I think she left $1 million endowment.
They take care of the roads, the trees, cut the grass, and that's pretty much. The rest of it is all taken care of by volunteers and members.
Beginning in the 1960s, they worked to transform their nursery into an arboretum, with winding pathways, stately trees, and colorful special gardens. The property became part of the township's park system after John's death, and Dorothy continued to supervise Laurelwood and work in the gardens.
It's a gem. I don't know if it's hidden, but it is a gem. They have weddings there now. They just built, I guess we'll call it a community center or educational center they built.
In 2003, This group was formalized as Friends of Laurelwood Arboretum Incorporated, a 501c3 nonprofit corporation.
And that was the beginning of my thinking, is that we have to do something to preserve it. And the only way that I thought, in a very simple way, is to have it an organization, a nonprofit, that people join, and that's like the squeaky wheel that gets the grease, and then the politicians won't touch it.
In 2007, following Dorothy's death, Friends of Laurelwood Arboretum and Wayne Township entered into an agreement in which the responsibilities of each were defined. Friends of Laurelwood Arboretum assumed responsibility for maintaining and improving the Arboretum's horticultural inheritance. The spirit of volunteerism, like everywhere else in Wayne Township, is alive and well at Laurelwood, as the Friends of Laurelwood organization boasts over 140 current members. These volunteers gather each Tuesday in the pursuit of perfection, working over the grounds with their hands, planting, weeding, clearing, dredging, and whatever else is needed in order to maintain the grounds in a way that Dorothy would be proud of.
It's really become a part of my life. I've been doing this for, 8 years now. I retired 8 years ago, knew nothing about gardening, just started volunteering because I live near here and love the place, and it's just a wonderful place. It's like an oasis. We feel very lucky.
And on a Tuesday, we have probably 20 some odd people volunteering, working. It's really, it's a wonderful thing.
The reason why it's growing by leaps and bounds is because we all are so involved, and we think it's beautiful.
The beauty and convenience of Laurelwood belies its status within the Wayne area as somewhat of a secret, as the people of Wayne seem to be largely unaware of its existence at times.
Wayne itself has become a destination. It has been, and it has become that. The Laurelwood Arboretum is just part of that.
I know people who live in Wayne who still haven't been here. It is a best kept secret.
I mean, amazing. Little gem. You wouldn't know it's there unless you knew it was there.
It certainly is. I lived on the other side of Wayne for, 32 years, and I really didn't know about this place.
Clearly, it just is another example of everything that makes Wayne so special.
Wow, we're less than a mile away from this, living here, and we didn't know that this existed.
Laurelwood Arboretum is a plus for my community, the Lions Head Lake community, as well as Pines Lake community.
I had no idea that it ever existed. I lived in Wayne my whole life.
More and more people are finding out, but we still like to keep it our specialty, our own secret.
The Faulkner Act was created to provide municipalities with greater flexibility than provided in New Jersey's traditional forms of government.
So we are a Faulkner type F type government, which is probably unique in the state of New Jersey, and there's several communities in the state that have this form of government.
We in Wayne follow the type F model government under the Faulkner Act, which in the simplest form of explaining it would be the mayor as the executive or CEO of the business operates the administration, and the council, we on the council, operates as the legislative or the board of directors.
Ours in particular falls in what they call the mayor council, and in particular it's mayor strong.
The mayor operates the administration, and the employees and the directors work with and under his direction, reporting to him. We on the council are the oversight, the lawmakers.
Basically what happens is all of the departments, all the employees, except for the clerk's office, report somehow up the chain of command to the business administrator, and then the business administrator reports to the mayor.
Outside of a small stipend, they are not compensated for their efforts.
It's nights and weekends, and whenever people need help, we're there to advocate on their behalf.
We painted a lot of fire hydrants in our town, saving taxpayers money, and also making it visible for the firefighters to come out to save lives and to be there for the community.
When they come with a problem, I love helping them try to solve it.
I sit on the board of trustees for the library. I am the liaison between the library and the town for those types of activities. So we all have second jobs and third jobs, and some of us have passion projects, beyond that.
You're talking about people that don't have a voice, and if we can't be a voice for them, who's going to be their voice?
Wayne is made up of such phenomenal individuals. It's why people come here. It's why people stay here. It's absolutely the favorite thing we get to do is to hand over and read proudly those proclamations, and it's just a matter of recognizing those phenomenal individuals.
As far as an overview of the district, I think a good way to think about Wayne is basically it's a full service school district. So in addition to certainly our 14 schools, and so those are the physical buildings that we have, and plus we have a new early childhood center that's coming online. We offer so many different opportunities for students. So whether it's athletics, where we offer just about every sport that is available in New Jersey, to all of our extracurricular, our clubs. There is no shortage of things for students to do at every grade level. So I think that the best way to think about the district is full service. There is something for everybody.
Albert Payson Terhune was born December 21st, 1872. He was an American author, dog breeder, and journalist. He was most popular for his novels relating the adventures of his beloved collies and as a breeder of collies at his SUNNYBANK kennels located in Wayne, New Jersey. He was the son of Presbyterian minister Edward Payson Terhune and Mary Virginia Terhune, who was a famous author in her own right, writing a variety of books under the pen name Marion Harland.
She's a cross between Danielle Steele and Martha Stewart, and she becomes the go-to for home advice and etiquette advice.
MVT, or Marion Harland, passed on her remarkable writing skills to her son, but he also seemed to inherit his mother's legendary work ethic.
What did he grow up surrounded by but his mother and his two sisters, who were very much work ethic, work driven.
Albert Payson Terhune wrote over 30 books in his illustrious writing career. He was such a prolific writer that it's said that he wrote 11 hours per day, 6 days per week, for over 30 years. His most famous book was called Lad, a Dog. The world-famous book told the story of his legendary collie, Lad, and the others that lived with him and his wife and niece on the east shore of Pompton Lake, right here in Wayne, New Jersey.
It was a suggestion from his Red Book magazine editor, Ray Long, that gave the author the idea to write the stories that made him famous. One of Bert's favorite dogs was Lad, who was always a bit aloof toward strangers. But for some reason, when Long came to visit, Lad became affectionate towards him, and during one of these visits, Long jokingly suggested Terhune write stories about the dogs. And the rest is history.
His books focused on Lad, which was a dog that would do anything for his family, which included his people and his animals, usually to his detriment, going into life and death situations.
Not only was Terhune a world-renowned writer, but he was also a breeder of collies. Eventually, he turned the home where he grew up into a breeding kennel, and it was called SUNNYBANK Kennels. And it was also a frequent subject of his writings. In fact, SUNNYBANK came to be known as the most famed collie kennels in the United States.
We're here at SUNNYBANK. It's a 40-acre estate, originally a summer house to the Terhune family. The entrance to come into the house originally was just beautiful. You'd enter through the gates and travel down a winding driveway, wooded area to the left and the right with dog kennels, dogs barking to announce your arrival. Didn't need a doorbell.
Throughout SUNNYBANK lie the original burial spots of Terhune's favorite dogs. Lad's grave is prominent, with a large sign since he was most famous. But if you search them out, you will see the original faded concrete gravestones for Bruce, the dog without a fault, Wolf, Bear, Jip, Meg, Dabble, Big Boy, and even SUNNYBANK Jean.
They want to come and they want to see Bruce, they want to see Grey Dawn, they want to see Wolf and Jean. And so it becomes a very unique situation at SUNNYBANK.
The dogs would greet all the visitors, and Jean was one of these greeter dogs.
She's a greeter, and she runs out, and they're not ready, and they hit her, and she dies.
The news of SUNNYBANK Jean's death traveled all around the world.
And so he just says, enough. And he puts gates in at SUNNYBANK. The gates are closed.
Anyone possessing an imagination can stand in the park, close their eyes, and recreate the days of SUNNYBANK. The mistress, always in white, pouring tea in the summer out on the veranda as Lad, Fair Ellen the blind collie, King Cole, and the rest of the Terhune collies frolicked and greeted each day. It was simply a magical place.
And when you came up to the house, it was a big Victorian, stucco with wisteria vines growing up the sides, big front porch. You could see Terhune sitting out on the green lawn with his collies, looking out on the lake. Just beautiful.
For those of us today who were born too late to be able to purchase a collie from Albert Payson Terhune, the news is not all bad, as SUNNYBANK collies are still bred today across the country. You can visit the Terhune Memorial Park on Route 202 in Wayne, New Jersey, on the bank of Pompton Lake.
Well, most days you can come here and you see people with their dogs walking around on the grounds, playing, sitting on a blanket, just reading a book.
I love to come down here, have lunch, and just wander around the property. I've been down here when they've had dog shows. I've been down here when they have events in the park, but I just like the solitude and the quiet, natural beauty that's here.
It's really serene. It's really so quiet. You can walk into the woods. Over on the right, you see the graves over there, marking the dogs. Lad is up at the top. They say it's in his favorite, he was buried in his favorite resting place.
So I think this is definitely one of those that's up there from the standpoint of both the natural beauty as well as the solitude.
Well, it's a sunset lake, so you get the sunset. So as you were sitting at the house, I think you would look down over the green grass, and the reflection of the sunset on the lake probably made it turn red or glow.
Those wishing to view the artifacts, books, awards, and other mementos of a special time can visit the Ran Riper Home Museum at 533 Burdan Ave in Wayne during hours of operation.
Yes, so people don't realize, I've gotten a lot of questions of where we are and what we do. I'm the volunteer coordinator here, and we have open adoption hours where you can come and view the animals and adopt them. 3 times a week you can come and visit the shelter and look at the dogs and cats and actually walk away with adopting.
In the United States, we take the Oreo cookie for granted without really taking notice of where or how it came to be. It goes without saying, Oreos have become part of 20th century culture. While many of us have spent most of our lives enjoying Oreo cookies, many don't know that since their introduction in 1912, they've become the best-selling cookie in the United States, selling over 400 billion cookies. March 1898. Several baking companies merged to form the National Biscuit Company, which becomes known simply as Nabisco. It takes until almost 14 years later for the company to make a name for itself, and in 1902, the company creates Barnum Animal Cookies, and they're a smash hit.
So the cookies has a really interesting story behind the animal crackers. They had a unique marketing strategy for the product, and they sold the boxes resembled a cage with the animals inside, and the box had a string on top of it, and the string, a lot of people don't realize what the string was for. It was for the boxes to be saved for later on in the year, and that people could then hang them on their Christmas tree.
In January of 1912, Nabisco comes up with a new sandwich cookie idea that it hopes will compete with the Hydrox cookie. It's actually 2 chocolate discs with a sweet cream filling in between, and it's delicious.
And they called it the Oreo. The very first Oreo cookies produced looked extremely similar to today's version. The cookies have changed in design only once, in 1954. When the design of the outside of the cookie was changed to reflect today's cookie design. March 14th, 1912, Nabisco makes it official, filing for a trademark on the Oreo cookie. On August 12th, 1913, their application is approved, and Oreo cookie trademark is assigned registration number 0093009.
So what people fail to realize is that actually Oreo was first invented to compete with the Hydrox sandwich cookie.
And it was really based as a generic version to that cookie, and it's amazing because today that generic cookie is the best-selling cookie in the world.
When the cookie was first introduced in 1912, it appeared as an Oreo biscuit, which changed in 1921 to Oreo Sandwich. There was another name change in 1937 to Oreo Cream Sandwich before the modern name was decided upon in 1974, Oreo Chocolate Cookie Sandwich. Despite the official name changes, most people have referred to the cookie simply as an Oreo. The modern Oreo cookie filling was developed by Nabisco's principal food scientist, Sam Porcello, who retired from Nabisco in 1993. Porcello held 5 patents directly related to his work on the Oreo. He also created a range of Oreo cookies that were covered in dark chocolate and white chocolate. Porcello also made his home in Wayne, New Jersey, passing away in 2012, but not before leaving an indelible and delicious mark on the history of Wayne, New Jersey.
And basically was responsible for the awesomeness that you find in the cream between Oreo cookies. He's the guy, and he lived right here in Wayne.
It is just one more example of something so iconic having its roots right here in Wayne, New Jersey.
The cookies themselves have been the source of great family and cultural debates as well about how one would or should eat them.
So some people twist them apart, some people break them apart.
I eat an Oreo in a very specific way.
I'm not a separator, I just eat it the way it is.
I just bite from the top.
For me, it's very simple. It's not a complicated thing.
My parents had 5 kids. Oreos didn't stand a chance in my house.
Some people eat them all at once. My kids like to dunk them.
Just twist it. It was just twisted. There's a key to it.
I'm a very aggressive eater, so I just eat the cookie. Maybe 2 bites, maybe sometimes 1 bite.
I thoroughly enjoy the combination of cookie and the middle.
Take the top off.
Give it the twist, and inevitably all the cream was on one side.
Twisting it, and then you would lick off or bite off the cream.
It's just the perfect cookie.
Eat the cream first, then you have the cookie later.
I twist it open.
My wife, she actually opens it up, removes the cream, and eats just the cookie part.
I would take another one, do the same, and then I would take those 2, put it together.
People will stick a fork in them, stick a knife in them, twist them apart.
I'm not sure what this is going to say about me, but yes, I do twist it apart and eat the cream first, then the cookie.
I lick off the cream, I eat 1 cookie, and then I eat the other cookie.
No milk, no thank you.
So for me, just a bite of the whole cookie. I don't dissect it. I appreciate the Oreo for what it is.
I made my own double stuff before double stuff was even on the map.
With that, let's switch gears. Tell me how you, Todd Keem, eats an Oreo cookie.
Don't eat them.
What do you do with an Oreo? 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 Do you twist it? Do you lick it? Do you scrape it? Do you dip it? Do you dunk it because you love it? Uh-oh, Oreo. Uh-oh, Oreo. What do you do with an Oreo? Oreo. What do you do with an Oreo? Oreo. Do you twist it? Do you lick it? Do you scrape it? Do you dip it? Do you dunk it because you love it? Uh-oh, Oreo. Uh-oh, Oreo. Uh-oh, Oreo.
It's like the Last Supper over here.
These hills and valleys is where I'm from. My first job was on 23 when I was so young. Seen this town grow a lot in every single way. Raised a family of my own, and that's why I'm gonna stay. In these hills and valleys, from Packanack to Pines, from Preakness to Willowbrook, The atmosphere is fine, but these hills and valleys, nothing stays the same. From Barbara's Pond to Willie P, everything's better in Wayne. Sunnybank, Terhune Park, on a summer's day, Skylar Colfax made his mark on everything this way. I grew up in Mountain View, now I'm in Lions Head Lake. Lived a life in this old town, and that's why I'm gonna stay. And these hills and valleys, from Packanack to Pines, from Preakness to Willowbrook, the atmosphere is fine, but these hills and valleys, nothing stays the same. From Barbara's Pond to Willie P, everything's better in Wayne.
We have a great relationship with the town employees, from the DPW guys to mayor and council.
But there's a plan, and there's a plan in place to change it around. That'll change more dynamics of Wayne Township.
We were one of the original companies that made the Super Bowl before Whammo.
The building department and the planning board, engineering department that we work with have been cooperative.
It makes me feel good that I can be a good, big part of the town.
So we opened up in Wayne.
Hills and valleys, from Packanack to Pines, from Preakness to Willowbrook, the atmosphere is fine in these hills and valleys. Don't forget the train, from Two Bridges to Point View, everything's better in Wayne.
That was good.
That was all right. I think that was all right.
Pretty
That
good.
was good.
Can we listen?
When there was a flood in Wayne, every major station, CBS, ABC, and NBC, all ran their trucks out to Wayne, located themselves in Mountain View, where the flooding was really bad, and the people in the boats, and they're leaving their homes. And everybody just said, "Oh, you live in Wayne? Oh, the flood town? Oh, the flood town." So no one talked about anything about you live in Wayne, because the minute the news got it, we're here in Wayne, New Jersey, and it's flooding, and that was how everybody knew us.
The Young Men's Christian Association was founded in London, England on June 6, 1844. As the growth of the railroad began to pick up steam, many young men seeking employment began to come to cities in droves. They were hard workers, working for up to 12 hours per day, 6 days per week, but they were forced to live in cramped and overcrowded rooms above their places of employment, which resulted in unsanitary and unhealthy conditions. Unfortunately, the streets offered no safe alternative.
They lived in overcrowded rooms that were above the stores where they worked. And, it was, even though it was bad, it was not, a bad alternative to the streets, where open sewers, pickpockets, thugs, and robbers, were really the everyday scenario in the city of London especially.
George Williams came to London in the early 1840s as a sales assistant in a draper's shop, the forerunner to today's department stores. He and a group of fellow drapers organized the first YMCA to substitute Bible study and prayer for life on the streets.
The initial Y started in London, and the focus was on Bible study, because the idea was to create a Christian emphasis and to focus in on helping develop young minds, spirits, and bodies.
1851. There are 24 YMCAs in Great Britain, with a combined membership of 2,700. It is also the same year the YMCA arrives in North America, first on November 25th in Montreal, and then in America, landing in Boston, Massachusetts on December 29th.
The first Y in this country was founded in Boston. And from that, a lot of other YMCAs started throughout the country. So it became a movement, which is how we describe ourselves today.
The YMCA idea, which began among evangelicals, was unusual because it crossed the rigid lines that separated all the different churches and social classes in England in those days.
Well, the reality is our Y and all Ys are for all. And what I typically say is when I say all, I mean capital A, capital L, and capital L.
This openness was a trait that would lead eventually to inclusion of all men, women, and children, regardless of race, religion, or nationality. Residences, as they were called, would make a major financial impact on the movement for the next century.
It was very, very typical for YMCAs to build a single-room occupancy housing. And there was a time when YMCAs were the second largest provider of hotel space, just behind Howard Johnson's.
YMCAs organized college students for social action, literally invented the game of basketball and volleyball, and served the special needs of the railroad men who had no place to stay when the train reached the end of the line.
And so what's real interesting about the whole basketball story is that, when they first started playing this game, it took a little while for somebody to figure out that we need to cut out the bottom of the peach basket, because what they would do was they would shoot. Once the ball went in there, they would have to get up on the ladder and go retrieve it.
And as time went on into the early 1900s, they became a little more sports oriented.
I think that need to be physically active was really what drew that desire and invention really to the Y as a movement.
So the origins of the YMHA of North Jersey were founded in 1914, I believe, and I think they were a thriving organization in Paterson for that amount of time. And so the leadership of the YMHA decided to make that move and to build a large building to support their population and to support the programs and services that they wanted to provide to support their community. Yeah, so with the Y, every Y is run a little bit differently, but with our Y we have definite economies of scale. So we have one central office that supports 7 branches in 7 different communities throughout our YMCA service area.
Today and into the future, YMCAs continue to be a positive influence on our communities worldwide. They provide social and physical activities and programs and offer an alternative to the negative aspects of our society.
My family has done, pretty much all of their extracurricular activities here. Dance, theater, basketball, swimming lessons, all of that. So we've really been ingrained in the Wayne YMCA for a really long time.
To make the Wayne YMCA the community center in Wayne that is welcoming to all, providing access to all in collaboration with any organization that is willing to align and do the good work that needs to be done to benefit everyone.
But, we're in Wayne, we're staying. We're close to Route 80, Route 23, 287, so the proximity works for us, and we're proud to be here, and we want to show the town that we're proud by, who we are.
The Samuel Van Sohn Home. Not only is the Van Sohn House one of the oldest homes in Wayne Township, it is also one of its most historic. The home was built in 1769 by Samuel Van Sohn, and the location was specifically chosen for its proximity to the Singak Brook, which was very beneficial to the family business.
Vansone used the Singak Brook to power his gristmill. And as a matter of fact, the Mini-Sinct Indians used the land around the Vansone home to camp. But history did not come knocking until 11 years later when a prominent visitor arrived. July 1780, famous French General Marquis de Lafayette moves into the Vansone house to be close to General George Washington during his stay at the Day Mansion while he fights for the Americans. General Lafayette being encamped here at the Vansone house with his troops is just another example of how clutch the French were when it came to helping the Americans and the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War. As a matter of fact, when Lafayette was here, simultaneously General Rochambeau was making his famous landing at Rhode Island, where they'd be preparing to march down to the pivotal Battle of Yorktown, which the Americans won, and in turn the Revolution. He is one of Washington's most trusted generals. Historical records indicate that Lafayette must have felt confident in his safety during this summer living on Vansone's estate at Preakness.
What's the biggest change?
I'd say population growth, more than anything. My first recollection of Valley Road in Wayne is farms. Packanack Lake is pretty much the same that where I live now, and I've lived all these years. Is pretty much the same, other than maybe there's a little bit more housing. But the commercial corridor here on Route 23, Route 23 itself is 4 times as big and as wide as it was back in the 60s. It was only 2 lanes both ways.
It is not possible to effectively discuss Wayne Township's historic homes without talking first about the most famous of them all, the Dye Mansion. The Dye Mansion, located at 199 Todor Road in Wayne, is now a museum under the control of the Passaic County Historic Commission. But in 1780, it was Washington's headquarters in the center of the Continental Army, and it was chosen for very specific reasons.
1780s, it played a major role in the American Revolution because it was the military headquarters for General George Washington.
July 1st, 1780, General George Washington arrives at Bloomsbury to begin his command there of the Continental Army. The mansion, owned by Tunis Day and Hester Schuyler, was an obvious choice for Washington to command his troops, and he was surrounded by thousands of soldiers led by his favorite generals.
And it was built by the Dye family. They actually purchased 600 acres at Preakness, and that's now known as Wayne Township.
July 14th, 1780, General Washington receives news that General Rochambeau and the French have arrived at Newport, Rhode Island. He immediately begins preparations to meet the French and their famous general. He leaves Bloomsbury on July 29th. September 1780, the despicable and traitorous conduct of Benedict Arnold is revealed, forcing Washington to make dire decisions. October 8th, 1780, Washington returns to Bloomsbury, where he remains until November 27th, when the command is moved to Morristown. Although Alexander Hamilton leaves with Washington, he travels to Albany instead, where he marries Elizabeth Schuyler on December 14th, 1780. Today, Packanack Lake is a lively community of over 1,500 homes nestled in between 2 ridges in the center of Wayne, not far from where George Washington's headquarters and the Continental Army's encampments stood during the Revolutionary War.
I mean, I think back as far as about 1790, right? This was all farmland, marshland, frankly, where the lake is now is more marshland.
In fact, there was the name Packanack is named after one of the local Indian tribes, which was called the Packanack, and the name is meant to mean land made clear for cultivation. Later on, it was referred to as the Commons because the people that owned the land allowed common grazing of cattle in the area.
All the farmland that was here, people had the opportunity to bring their animals down to graze.
By 1926, a man named Joseph T. Castles, along with his son and son-in-law, purchased 26 farms totaling 700 acres and began to lay the groundwork for their vision of a year-round lake resort community. An earth and clay dam was constructed. The marshland was flooded and Packanack Lake was formed.
26, 28 is when the land was purchased, was cleared. It was dammed. As a matter of fact, if we lower the lake, you'll actually see the stumps still in the bottom of the lake.
So water and sewer lines were laid and construction began on the clubhouse and 17 additional homes in the area. Most of the homes were small log cabins and capes.
On May 6, 1928, a grand opening was held and real estate sales topped $500,000 within the first 15 days. This fantastic start was mildly tempered by the Great Depression. However, construction of roads and homes soon picked up again, and the community grew steadily over the following years. While the lake, hunting, and rustic living attracted early owners, Packanackers wanted more from their community. Over the years, an eye-watering number of clubs, activities, and athletics sprung up around the lake, including tennis, swimming, horseback riding, hockey, men's and women's social clubs, music and drama clubs, a bowling club, a miniature golf course, and a baseball league.
So you've got everything from athletic associations to mothers clubs, to barbecue clubs, to leisure clubs. We had a train club that just closed. We have children's theater groups that are here. We've got garden clubs.
Residents even enjoyed a ski run during the winter that ran from Alps Road to the south end of the lake. In addition to the clubhouse, the residents' $5 dues afforded them a shopping plaza, sweet and soda shop, and coffee shop, all before the community was even 5 years old.
Packanack Lake is a private community, and the residents that live here do have mandatory dues that help support that community. These dues are very important as far as paying for upkeep and maintenance of the grounds, to keeping the water clear and safe to swim in.
If we do not protect those assets within our community, not only protect them, but make them better, right? We need to be able to enrich those environments for our community.
A true community was forming that included a post office, firehouse, school, church, and athletic fields.
So what started as a lake resort community quickly grew into a close-knit place to call home.
You are, if you think about it, less than 30 miles from Manhattan. And we have this, and you get off of Route 23, the hustle and bustle, split second. You're in this comfortable, wooded area with a lake surrounded by homes. Deep breath.
However, no community is defined by its physical attributes alone. While Packanack Lake enjoyed a plethora of activities and amenities, it is the people that truly make a community great, and it shines in this department as well.
I think is around community service and volunteerism. I think those are traits. People come here and it's in the DNA.
The residents' dedication to civic organizations is clear to see and continues to this day. Focus on bringing the community together is achieved by annual festivals, barbecues, athletic tournaments, bonfires, concerts, and other gatherings. This sense of community within Packanack Lake extends far beyond its borders.
During World War II, one of the local families adopted a 12-year-old boy from Spain. That boy was a victim from the Spanish Civil War. And no less than 75 members of this community have served honorably in the nation's armed forces,
including Rear Admiral Dennis Hugh Wisely, who served as the flight commander of the famed Blue Angels, and Presidential Citation and Bronze Star recipient, First Lieutenant Bruce C. Ogilvie. Patriotic service also included several members who proudly represented the United States in both the Summer and Winter Olympics, and Dr. Loren Morgan and his wife, Dr. Ruth Morgan, who served as medical missionaries in China from 1904 to 1941. Packanack Lake can even boast current and former celebrity residents, including NHL hockey player Ron Duguay, model Kim Alexis, comedian Uncle Floyd Vivino, and superstar actor-producer Tom Cruise, who attended Packanack Elementary School as a young boy. Packanack Lake is much more than the beautiful landscape, numerous amenities, and amazing people that live there. It is the perfect balance of all of these elements that allows it to be greater than the sum of its parts. Many of the families that call Packanack Lake home today have been there for generations, and this incredible community ensures that many future generations will call it home as well.
Don't be a stranger in the night. Take a chance for some romance. Don't cover your eyes. Willow trees know you better than anyone else. It's time you let your guard down for someone like me. I'd say I'm settled and pretty calm. I don't storm in the storm. If not me, then someone like me that knows what to do and how to take care of you. But most of all, that deserves you. The sweetest red cheese I'd ever seen. You stand beside me in every dream.
It was the kind of community where you hear stories about kids getting on their bikes after school and just going until dinner time. Well, that was Wayne. And that was my block, Corvair Place on Wayne, just outside of James Fallon School, and so that was what we did. You could walk anywhere, you can ride anywhere. The neighborhood was safe, and the neighbors knew who everyone was.
The men and women of the Wayne Memorial First Aid Squad are a dedicated and conscientious group dedicated to helping the people of Wayne during their toughest times. It has been a volunteer organization since its founding in 1943. The job is dangerous and difficult, and those who are faint of heart need not apply. After all, it takes a special person to do this work, especially on a volunteer basis.
Well, number one, you have to have a desire to want to help the community, and also a desire to put in a lot of time. I mean, the EMT program takes a whole college semester, so you're in class for over 3 to 4 months, and then you start what's called our probationary period, and that also takes about a year to understand how our operations are actually put together.
Even though their organization is comprised of volunteers, the Wayne First Aid Squad is one of the busiest in the state.
Wayne Township First Aid Squad has been around since 1943. We're celebrating our 76th year of volunteering for the Township of Wayne. None of our members are paid. We're all volunteer EMTs providing the best high-quality pre-hospital care possible. Last year in 2018, we did around 5,200 calls, which is busy for the First Aid Squad, especially a volunteer organization such as ours.
Covering an area of 27 square miles and serving over 55,000 residents, and as a result, the calls pile up.
I understand that the First Aid Squad over the last 76 years just hit a milestone in terms of calls. What's the total amount of calls that this First Aid Squad has fielded in the 76-year history?
Yeah, since our inception, since 1943, we just passed our 200,000th volunteer call for the Township of Wayne.
It goes without saying that all of Wayne's volunteer EMS workers answer a large number of calls in the course of their duty schedules. But one member has taken that dedication to a whole new, staggering level.
So how long have you been doing this, Stu?
Me?
Yeah.
1998.
Now, the rumor circulating is that you have responded personally to over 20,000 calls. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
All right, so tell me how many calls that you've personally responded to in your log, and to give people an idea of just how...
I mean, I don't keep track. Believe it or not, my partner, Dawn, is our membership secretary.
Okay.
And Dawn just one day happened to check the records, and she's the one that came up with the total. I was shocked that it was that many.
Dawn, what was the total?
It's probably
last November it was just a little over 20,000.
Wow. Yeah. So if you do the math and you extrapolate it out, Stu, you get it's almost like 4 calls a day for your entire time that you've been on the first aid squad. That sound about right?
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I never sat and figured it.
Everything worked out okay. It was approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, and Stuart Steinberg came to my house as both my wife and I were quite scared as young parents, and he was quite the phenomenal individual that night, and I will never forget him or his unit forever.
And, maybe on that day, you get that 5th or that 6th call. How do you find sometimes, obviously you have some times like that where it's tough.
Right.
How do you find the guile to go on every call like that? Is there like something you tell yourself?
I think it's in your heart that you want to go out, you want to take care of people, you want to help people.
And when you take out the number of actual calls they answer in a year as a squad, it's about 5,000. So he's answering 20% of the calls all by himself.
The first aid squad is always in need of new people, but one of the biggest challenges in recruiting new members lies in the difficulty of the job and the hours and hours of training required to do it.
We thought we had it bad. The state has really put the requirements up them a lot. And now if a new person comes to want to be an EMT, it's 210 hours of training. So you're actually going to school for 210 hours before you become an EMT. You don't see as much volunteerism anymore. Wayne happens to be one of the more fortunate towns. We're still 100% volunteer.
My childhood was good. Wayne treats us very nice, and the society and the people are very nice to talk to. Wayne is very friendly. Whenever I come across someone, they either smile at me or say hi or open the door for me, which makes me feel at home and safe. That they're very friendly and they have nothing to worry about, because Wayne is a very good place to be in, and I always feel safe in Wayne.
One of the things that put Wayne on the map was Willowbrook Mall. And it's unfortunate Spiro Lennis just passed away last week.
Well, Spiro Lennis was quite an incredible man. He came to this country with practically nothing, and he built his own empire, his own very strong company. He assembled the land all around the Triple R Ranch and created a block of land that the Rouse Company at the time, who were the original developers, came and met and spoke with Spiro.
It was the Triple R Ranch. It was a big ranch with horses on it and everything. So all of Willowbrook was a ranch, all that property. And one day they said, no more ranch, let's develop it. So one of the biggest malls at that time in the country.
10 years ago, he came and celebrated Willowbrook's 40th anniversary with us. And it was a really special time for me, and I think a special time for him to see his accomplishment, come to after all these years.
And so Willowbrook Mall put Wayne on the map, because once Macy's and all this Bloomingdale started opening up and advertising it, it would be on television or radio, advertising, go to Wayne, New Jersey, to the Willowbrook Mall.
I actually enjoy Willowbrook. I know downtown, it's a fashionable thing now, but I look at it as, On a rainy day, who wants to go downtown shopping? To me, those businesses probably suffer on those rainy days.
So I think from a development standpoint, yeah, we want to be a big part of the community, but we're also here to function as a business.
I think the Willowbrook is better suited for our community, and if you go to Willowbrook on a weekend, there's people that come from all over. I mean, they come from every county, especially Bergen County, because they got the blue law still.
The hospitals and the doctors who were preaching to their patients, like you have to get out and walk and you have to take care of yourself, we were able to partner with them and give them a climate-controlled environment that they can walk in 365 days a year.
Today, we have our monthly mall walkers program called Walk with a Doc, and Walk with a Doc is actually a national program. It's really to get people out and about and interacting and having a dialogue with their physician outside of the office.
Chilton came to us, or Atlantic Health Systems, to say they were introducing a new program called Walk with the Doc, and would we sponsor it?
And so we've been doing this here at Willowbrook since 2017, and you know, we've had a really great response.
And what they do once a month is they bring a different physician to speak to the mall walkers that attend and walk every day, to speak to them about various health problems.
Malls are really great places for folks to get out and be able to be active, right? Especially they open early, before shops open, and folks can come out and, you know, move their bodies and exercise.
We open our doors at 7 a.m.
And that's every day.
Every day for the mall walkers. You do have to sign up at the hospital.
So they know who's walking around
So
the
they
mall.
know. So I'm proud, you know, of the way it looks. If I see paper on the floor, I'm going to pick it up because that's what I would do in my own house.
Pride of ownership.
Yeah. One of my favorite times of the year would be holidays. Although it's a crazy time for us because that's when we get the bulk, you know, of our customers and our visits. But Santa has always been a big part of what I've done through my career, decorating for Santa, getting ready for him.
Wayne's 27 square miles, there's 54 plus thousand people here, but it still feels like a tight-knit community. You know, there's, you know, Pines Lake and Packanack Lake and different pockets of neighborhoods, but when there's a problem, people come together and act as a small town, even though, you know, we're close to the size of a city. Everybody's got their busy lives and running their kids to sports practices and different events after school, so everybody's heads down doing things. But when it comes down to it, if there's people in need, the town definitely rallies around them no matter what.
August 20th, 1831. Milton Holbrook Sanford is a 19-year-old student at Captain Partridge's Military School in Middleton, Connecticut, when he is informed of his father, Samuel Sanford's, untimely passing. Shocked and saddened, Milton is forced to return home immediately to assume control of the family business.
Well, he's very successful in his new venture, and eventually, in a 2-year period, raises the family fortune to over $100,000, which at the time is a staggering amount of money.
The financial panic of 1837 actually triggers a major recession, which wipes out his personal wealth. However, he's able to guide the business through the turmoil and actually keep his family's holdings intact.
Sanford, ever the inventor and entrepreneur, goes on to discover a new method for manufacturing jute and builds a state-of-the-art mill for its manufacturing. And it makes him the richest man in New England. It is with this newfound fortune that Sanford starts to feed his true love in life, horse racing. He builds a stable and a racing team, and it goes on to win many of the era's most famous horse races, including the Jockey Club Handicap at Jerome Park. During this time period, he is also instrumental in the founding of the American Jockey Club. November 18, 1867, Milton Holbrook Sanford purchases 2 tracts of land.
Milton Sanford in 1863 had decided to open his business in New York City. He wanted to have stables close by as well. So he was looking, and he came upon property in Wayne, New Jersey.
One 64-acre parcel is purchased from Eno Van Sohn for $12,000, and the other, a 6-acre tract from Henry K. Berry for $1,500. And he calls it Preakness Farms. Kentucky, 1867. R.A. Alexander of Woodburn Stock Farm in Kentucky breeds a dark bay colt to legendary racehorse Lexington and out of the mare Bayleaf. He has an inkling that this colt could be special, but there's no way anyone could have predicted what he would become.
The horse was a gorgeous, beautiful bay colt, and they can see right from the beginning that the horse would be very special.
Preakness was born in Kentucky. He was a great bay colt.
What they couldn't see, however, was how much of a handful he'd be. The horse had quite an attitude. You know, if he didn't like you, he might throw you off the saddle.
As time went on, he trained well, but at the same time, he had a personality that spoke out of his own.
If he didn't like you, you couldn't ride him.
A year later, the colt appears on the auction block, and by sheer serendipity, it is purchased by none other than Milton Sanford of Preakness Stables, Wayne, New Jersey, for $4,000.
They had a horse they named the Preakness because this was the Preakness area. Okay? I don't know how many square miles it evolves, but it spreads out. People ask, where are you from? Preakness.
It's Preakness. Just like replace the P with a B, break, Preakness.
So the term has been mispronounced over the years. You now call it the Preakness, all right? So I often say, I'm going to write into somebody.
October 25th, 1870, Preakness makes his maiden start. It is a tall assignment and one of the biggest purse races in the history of racing in America to that point.
And it won the first Pimlico Club race.
The Dinner Place Stakes, at the first meeting of the Maryland Jockey Club at the new Pimlico Racetrack. Preakness goes on to have one of the best careers in the history of horse racing. He competes in 40 races in his career, failing to finish in the money only 7 times. His career year comes in 1874 when he is entered in 7 races, winning 4 of them and finishing second in the others, including August 4th when he is challenged and sacked at the finish line at the hands of Springbrook at Saratoga. July 29th, 1875, the Saratoga Cup. The race features 7 of the country's top handicap horses, including Nemesis Springbrook. It is one of the most exciting races in the history of racing.
They settled in with Preakness right behind Springbrook, Springbrook with the lead. Stayed that way through the whole race, basically a 2-horse race until the final turn, and that's when Preakness made his move. Coming down the stretch, they were stride for stride. They were nose for nose, head for head. You couldn't tell the 2 horses apart. And the crowd was going wild as they came down the stretch, and they hit the finish line at precisely the same time. A dead heat.
The finish time of 3:56 1/4 is the fastest ever run at 2.5 miles. It was the last race that Preakness would ever run in America. The following year, he's sent to London, England to run in the spring races there. After winning the Brighton Cup as an 8-year-old, Preakness is put up for sale at auction.
So Preakness is purchased by the Duke of Hamilton. And although the Duke of Hamilton has a lot of money, is a rich man, and is a definite fan and breeder of horses, he's definitely not a choir boy. Preakness was a high-strung animal, as we know. And unfortunately, so was the Duke. And during a breeding session, at the stables, the Duke and Preakness get in an altercation. Preakness does not like the Duke. We know this already. But they get in an altercation. Preakness brushes the Duke, and in a fit of rage, the Duke takes out his gun, points it at Preakness, and he shoots him.
As much as the life of Preakness will go down as an American success story and an especially proud point of pride for Wayne, New Jersey, the end of Preakness will go down as a true tragedy for horse racing, as the circumstances of his death are at the very least extremely sad. 1873. The Maryland Jockey Club names their new major stakes race for 3-year-olds the Preakness Stakes. The race would go on to become the second leg of the jewel of horse racing, the Triple Crown. Milton, Holbrook, Sanford donated the trophy won in the first dinner plate stakes at Pimlico, and it is still contested for today at the Preakness Stakes.
Today we operate at the Preakness House, where the original stables were and the Preakness Derby was here. In 1954, the DeHope family created the Paddock House. Oh my God, I used to come here when I was a kid and play with the horses and do this and that. This place has been here for a long, long time. I purchased the place and now it's my creation. Now we are bringing it back to its original roots, to what it looked like maybe back in the day. So we're bringing it to an old farm style farmhouse. We're using the beams and all the structure that was here from the original paddock and trying to make it feel that way again.
August 3rd, 1883. Milton Holbrook Sanford dies at 71 years of age in his home in Newport, Rhode Island.
Ways away from the city lights, days of the lake and the stars at night, where farms still rose off a highway road. A different time, but their hearts the same. Fast as lightning through the summer rain, the Preakness sun runs inside a wild one. Oh, you can't hold back the wind. It's the heart of a place that beats on the dirt that you build your life from. It's a spark, keeps the flame burning strong. Home where you belong, the heart beats on, the heart beats on. Sun rises on a gambler's dreams, the plans he makes and the hope it brings. Every nail and bone, he was never more sure. Oh, you can't hold back the wind. It's the heart of a place that beats on the dirt that you build your life from. It's a spark, keeps the flame burning strong. Home where you belong, the heart beats on.
To win, he wins the Preakness. It is justified. In front, good mention on the outside, tenfold. Ravazzo, justified. He's unstoppable. He won the Preakness.
Oh, you can't hold back the wind. It's the heart of a place that beats on the dirt that you build your life from. It's a spark, keeps the flame burning strong. Home where you belong, the heart beats on, the heart beats on.
is the name of a town that I used to live in. Jane is the name of a girl that I knew back then. Sad is the way that I feel when I think about her. I hit the road late one night, and I miss her still. Gone are the days when the nights lasted forever. We'd gas up the Chevy and drive it down to the lake. Time has a way of creeping into the future. It leaves us behind, but these memories remain.
So I'm here right now at Captain Kilroy Park here in Wayne, New Jersey. It's a very special place. A lot of people know about it. It's very pretty. Tom's Lake is right here over my left shoulder, and the clubhouse is over here to my right shoulder. And it's, like I said, called Captain Kilroy Park. And a lot of people take it for granted. They see the sign out in front. They've heard about the park perhaps, but they don't know about the history of the park and why it came to be. Captain Michael Kilroy was a soldier on duty at the Geo Lin outpost in Quang Tri Province in the Republic of Vietnam. He was assigned as the assistant battalion advisor to the Vietnamese Army. May 19, 1966, Captain Kilroy's battalion is attacked at 2:30 a.m. Michael immediately contacts higher headquarters requesting air support.
After about 10 minutes, Kilroy left his bunker to consult with the battalion commander. Almost immediately, the Viet Cong renewed their mortar attack, and Michael was mortally wounded by fragments from one of the exploding mortar shells. He died on the battlefield.
In a letter to Michael's parents, his commanding officer wrote, quote, "As a member of this command, Michael was greatly admired by all of his associates, both American and Vietnamese. He was a thoroughly competent officer, performing his duties in a highly professional and courageous manner." end quote. Born on December 10, 1941 in Wayne, New Jersey, Michael was the only child of Harold and Helen McVeigh Kilroy. He graduated from Holy Cross Parochial School in Wayne and from Peekskill Military Academy at Peekskill, New York, where he distinguished himself as a student and an athlete.
He was an All-American and All-County swimmer. At the military academy, he continued to excel as a swimmer and was captain of the swim team. After advanced training at Fort Carson, Colorado, Michael volunteered for duty in Vietnam.
Everybody in the community knew about Michael and his service to the country and him being in Vietnam. And when the local school children undertook the pleasant project of writing to him, he rarely wrote about himself. In his replies, he pleaded constantly for medicines and the necessities of life for the poor children in the area where he was serving. He was always thinking of others.
At the time of his death, Michael was a first lieutenant, but was promoted posthumously to the grade of captain, effective 24 January 1966. He was also awarded posthumously the Silver Star for gallantry in action during the battle that ultimately claimed his life.
At the same time, he was awarded the Bronze Star for meritorious service and recognition of his outstanding performance of duty prior to his death. And the government of the Republic of Vietnam awarded him its Gallantry Cross with Palm and its National Order, 5th class. Michael was finally buried on May 30th, 1966. In the township of Wayne, his hometown really came out and showed a true send-off to him. As a matter of fact, the procession was said to be about a mile long following his body to the gravesite, and it was touching. Wayne is better for having had people like Michael Kilroy in the community. A man so brave and a man that died fighting for our beliefs and our way of life in America and in Wayne, New Jersey. And all the people that knew him are proud of him, and it's something that, you know, shouldn't be forgotten.
It started in 1984 after a major flood. In Wayne, you know, floods are the gifts that keep on giving, you know. But back in '84, it wasn't a result of a hurricane, it was just some big flood, and some neighborhood people got together in Packanack Community Church and started a mom and pop type, very low key, extremely low key. Fast forward to when I took it over, it's almost 11 years ago, we had 20 clients, and I became pantry coordinator, and basically it was a few other people, and we packed, and it was like 20 people. So one thing led to another, and the 22 or so families became 50, the 50 became 70, and we blew ourselves out of Packanack Church.
I walked past, I was at the Y taking an exercise class. I walked past the door on a Monday, saw all these people in there going, I want to do that. And I opened the door and started talking to Herb, and I haven't left since.
It's really a wonderful group of people who are committed to working in the pantry.
They didn't even know that we were here until, one started to tell the other. That's where a lot of the families come from.
We were always a family who loved to give, like you said. And you hope to always be that fortunate one that doesn't need it. When you do actually need it, it really was the hardest thing I ever had to, deal with in my life.
Everybody is here in a good frame of mind. They're very accepting of anybody who comes in and needs help.
We're known as being very friendly, okay? Our goal is to make them feel like family, like friends.
The first person I ever met was Herb, and he was just amazing. Smile on his face, handshake, didn't know who I was. You walk through the door, hello, I'm Mr. So-and-so, and, okay, great. We have what you asked for, we're gonna help you as best as we can.
And we make it welcoming. The volunteers here, when they see like a child come in, they fall over each other trying to find a lollipop or something to give to kids, and and we make them feel special, and they always leave with something. No matter what we have, they'll always leave with something.
Be able to meet people that are not going to judge you and are looking to do one thing and one thing only, and is to help, was just amazing. It was more than I ever thought it would be. It's just a great place to be able to have in a town where you might not expect someone to actually need it,
So we try to make them, they probably run into hard spots in their lives at every turn. We want to make it feel like this is not that spot. This is a spot where you feel like you're at home, you're amongst friends, and you can feel very comfortable coming once or as many times as you need.